In this video, I'm going to do a data store where I save off my total kills, total assists, and total deaths in between games. So when you play around, you get your scores, but then you want to have an accumulated average. We want to add something like a Hall of Fame in our lobby. Right now, every time you play, it's going to be 0. We also want to be able to save upgrades for weapons and ammo and things you find during your matches. That way you can get better than other people. So I'm going to build it first. In this simple world, I will make this copyable and savable. I'm going to share the link, and then we're going to add it to our purge game at the end. So if you don't really care about adding it to the purge game, it's just the first part of the video that you want. And that's why I'm going to do it in a simple world so you can see how it's done. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our data stores. So I have a simplified world set up so that we could do this with a pistol, with creator tags. I left the sword in here from the last video, and I also have a simplified game manager. If you want to follow along exactly, I will put this link in the description. I made this game copyable so you could hit these 3 buttons. It says edit in studio. You press that. It's going to open up this game in your Roblox studio. You'll have to save it off as your copy. You'll see that I'm logged in as an alt just to make sure that I had the permissions working. So it should open up no problem. All right, so once you get to this world, we can start adding our data store. So whether you're creating your own game from scratch or you're using the one that I gave you the link to, you need to save it off first before you can enable your data store. So file, publish to Roblox, you know how it's done, right? Save it off. Mine's already saved, pistol shoot. And then we're going to go to this cog, game settings, under the home tab. So home tab selected here, game settings, security, enable studio access to API services. Click that, hit save. Cool, we're ready to get started on our code. Let's take a look down in server script service. We're going to open that up. Game manager. In my purge game, I call it battle manager. But let's open game manager. All right, and we have this add player data. This is currently only leaderboard now, but we're going to add to it. And somebody made a request. One of the members made a request for total damage. I thought that was a good idea, but I'm not going to put it on the leaderboard. I am going to put it on a folder, or put it in a folder on my player. I'm going to copy this, Control C. I'm going to go down here, Control V, and instead of a board, I'm going to do something. I'm going to call P data for player data. This is going to stay the same. This is going to be P data. This is going to be player data. Now we're going to put metrics on P data just like the leaderboard, but it's not going to show up. So the metrics are going to be very, very similar. I'm going to copy the deaths, Control C, Control V, and this is going to be the accumulated damage that a player makes. We're going to store them as points and use it as currency. So I'm going to call it points, but it is going to be the damage. And then P data is going to be the parent of points. And then this is going to be points. Oh man, I didn't get my deaths. There we go, points. And then here, points. Let's check this out. See where this is going, right? See where this folder is. Let's hit the play. Right? I want to make sure we don't have any errors. I hit the view output and player Simtech Gamer 7. We must have that in the code somewhere. If we go under our player service, Simtech Gamer 7, we have leader stats. Oh, look at that. Assists, deaths, kills. And we have player data. Points. We could just as easily move this to the leader stats, right? But we don't want to have to make this too big. So points is going to be right here. Let's turn this off and we'll go back to our script, right? Our game manager. I'm going to close this so we have more room. There we go. And then we're going to add to this. We're going to add more stuff. Let's hook up our points data so we can get that working. We got the kills and deaths. Where's our pistol? Oh, starter pack. I forgot. It's been a week. And then we'll open up pistol. I'm going to go to damage on the pistol. We got our creator tag, cool. Right, tag human, untag human. Oh, we're doing stuff down here. Let's put a function, a local function, and call that score damage. Right, now there's a lot of ways to do this. I am going to do this the simplest way. However, it is going to make our code more coupled, right? You're going to have more trouble pulling your pistol out and put it in other games. So we'll do this score damage. I'm going to pass in the hum, the player, and I'm actually going to pass in the damage, even though we have a variable, global variable right here, right? But we might want to randomize this at some point. So that's why I'm going to pass in the damage. All right, now I want to score my points. I'm going to need a variable here, local. How about damage done? Damage done. We'll initialize that to 0. If the hum.health is greater than or equal to the damage, then damage done is going to be the damage, right? But if he only has like 5 points of health left, we don't want to give him like 25 points of damage if that's what the shot was. We're just going to give him what was left. So there's the else, and then we'll make damage done if he's almost dead, right? Whatever his remaining health was. So hum.health. All right. And down here, this is where we're going to award the player. Now, this is where it makes the code tightly coupled so that it's not as flexible. The gun's not as flexible for other games now, but it's good for our game. So we'll say leader stats. No, let's not put it on leader stats, right? We put it on player data. Player data, player.player data, remember, it was in that folder under the players. And we got points. Value plus equals damage done. Sweet. Now we got to call this, right? So let's copy that. Control C. Make sure you do it before take damage, right? Because we're checking to see what his damage is in order to award points. So here, this one should be dot value 2 because now we're using the global damage object, right? And then you could randomize that in here if you wanted to. But we're just going to make it simple right now. So this is set to like 25, right? Under the configuration, damage, 25. All right, cool. Now when we go to shoot somebody, we should get points for that. In order to try it out, though, I'm going to go to my test tab. And then instead of 3 players, I do 2 players. I'm going to start this up, try it out on another player. We're going to have 2 players in the game. I'm going to pause this, though, because it takes a while to start up. All right, my players started up. I'll go ahead and make that bigger. There we go. And yeah, we don't want to get rid of anything because we are not going to be able to see the points up here. Let's shoot player 2 twice. We should get 50 points. 25. Boom, 50. Let's go to players, and I'm player 1 right here, right? I'm player 1. Open that. Player data. Points. Oh, look at that. Value is 50. I know that's kind of small. It's hard to see. But the value is 50. The other guy doesn't have anything, right? Because we didn't shoot him. But if we go ahead and do a shot, it'll be what, 25 per. Let's go ahead and finish him off. Now that should be slightly more than 100 because we paused for a while. Go to points. Yep, that's 129 because we paused for a while and he healed because that's another player. So we got 129 points for that total. That's pretty cool. And then we can use points to buy stuff like in Black Ops. I like that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this out and we'll get back to our coding. Let's go over to our game manager. So this is the damage script on the pistol. Game manager is here. If you lost it, server script service, game manager. We need to add some more stuff to our player data, like the total kills, total assists, total deaths for our Hall of Fame. So let me just copy these. It's going to be very similar. Control C, and I'll go down here under points. Control V. Now, I could call this all the same stuff, but what I have to do, get that P data, instead of putting it on the board, because it's already on the board above, Control V, Control V. Now we have kills, assists, and deaths on our P data. We don't really need to change these names because it is on a different folder, but it might get confusing. I'm going to call that tote kills. I'm going to call this tote assists for total assists. I'm going to call this tote deaths. Points I'm going to keep a little bit different, mostly just so you see how I do it. Like if you want to be creative and change things around, tailor things more to your game, you'll need different examples. I'm going to also call this tote kills. I'm going to make that a capital K though for our camel case. Control C, Control V, right? And I don't think we need to Control C this, right? Tote assists. Just be careful with your spelling. Tote assists. That looks good. Get rid of the D. Tote, capital D deaths, just like the assist. And then tote deaths. Cool. So they have different names. Let's just play it real quick, and then we could check to see if we have our tote kills, tote deaths, tote assists. So here is our players. Open that up. Simtech Gamer 7. Player data. Look at that. Points, total assists, total deaths, total kills. Sweet. We got any errors? Nope. Turn that off. And we're going to get rid of the output window. We'll go back to Game Manager. In the Game Manager, we're going to scroll to the top. And then at the very top, make a variable, local, DSS for data store service. I will do game get service, data store service. Make another variable. I'll call this DS to keep things simple. We're going to get that from the data store service. So DSS colon get data store. Now, you can call this whatever you want, but it has to be unique within your experience. But if every single game you have is called My Data, it'll be fine, right? They're different experiences. So we got our DS, our data store called My Data. We're going to scroll down here, and right above add player data, let's add a function for initializing the player data. So I'll say a local function. We'll do init player data, and then we're going to pass the player in. Now I need a variable to get the player data from the data store. I'm not going to do protected calls in this video. You could look it up if you know about protected calls. We're going to do an asynchronous call to Roblox. That could fail. Protected calls will give you a heads up if it does fail. If you don't use protected calls, you're just going to keep moving along as normal and you won't have any error checking. But that's going to add some complexity to this video. I want to keep it simple for now, and we could add that later, right? So let's just do a DS data store get async. How about that? And now we're going to use the player user ID for the data key to get the data from the data store. So user ID, make sure you spell it right. Let's print it out so we can see it. So print saved data. Now we haven't saved any data yet. This is getting the data we saved. So you have to be patient. Well, let's print it out. I'm going to scroll up a little bit so we got some more room. And then if there's data, there might not be, might be the first time they played, right? If there's data, then we need to initialize things. What are we going to initialize? The things in our player data. So we have our player, and now we're going to get our player data, right? And then tote kills dot value is going to be the data tote kills. Whoops. Make sure that's capital, or make sure it matches with what you did, right? Tote kills. We don't need a dot value here. This is just going to be an integer, or an int value on the end of our data, not the object int value. It's going to be the actual integer. This is the object int value, so you need the dot value. It's a little bit tricky. I think that's the trickiest part of Roblox, actually. Let's do a Control C. Yeah, long story short, no dot value, right? There you go. We're going to copy that, and then this is going to be for we could do assists. They don't have to be in order. Tote assists. Control C. Control V. We're going to do one for deaths. Control C. Control V. tote deaths. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. Oh, here, look at that. There we go. Tote deaths. Copy, Control C, Control V. You could come up here, just make sure you got that copied right. Look at that. Tote deaths, Control C, Control V. Good. Doesn't look any different, right? And now the points are a little different. Points we're going to do from the leader, not the leader stats, right? No, we're not doing that. But we are doing a little bit different. We're doing the points from the player data. But I think what I'm going to do, let's just keep it the same. Points dot value. And then we'll do points. How's that? Let's not add too much complexity, right? So we'll just store it off like that. Yeah, good. All right. How do we call this? We got to call this from our player added, Control C. You might be tempted. You have to put it underneath the add player data because it's got to be on the player. You might be tempted to add it here. Don't do that because data store calls are costly. You could tie up your script. Your character gets added before that completes. Oh, you got a bit of a problem. I don't know if that's still a problem, but it has been a problem for a very long time. So under this, I'm going to close. How about we close this? Close that little arrow. And then right here, I'm going to hit the enter. It's going to open that up, but my cursor is going to be in the right spot, right? And then we'll do our Control V for init player data. That's where we need it. Now, we can initialize it, but there's nothing in there yet. We're not saving it. Let's do that. All right. So right under init player data, let's do a local function. How about save player data? Cool. And this is going to be very similar. We'll make a variable called data. It's going to be an empty table. I'm going to move this up even more. There we go. And I'm going to get this stuff right here. We're going the opposite direction, right? We're going to populate our data with tote kills from our player. Sweet. Let's get a couple of these. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. We got 4, right? Total assist, copy. Total assists. Total assist. I guarantee you're going to miss one of these, but you'll figure it out, right? And then we'll do a Control C, Control V, Control V, and then points, right? Points is a little different. There's no tote. All right, that looks good. So that's putting it in the data. Now we have to set the data. All right. Oh, and let's print it out too. We'll do a print, and we'll do data equals data. Sweet. All right. And what else? How about DS set async, right? We're going to send it on off. Once again, no P call. We're being risky. Player user ID. We need user ID and then data. So here we're going to use this same key as we are going to use to get the data, but we're actually sending the data that we want to save off. Now, you might be thinking, when do these get updated? I'm going to do that now. They don't. This gets updated when we shoot, right? We only have the points. We don't have the tote points. So that one's good. But here, what we're going to do is when we're leaving the game, we're going to grab the stuff on the leaderboard, and now we're going to add it to the tote kills. So we'll say, whatever was in the tote kills before, we'll get the player, and then we're going to get the leader stats. Spell that right. Make sure you spell it right. We're going to get the kills dot value. I'm going to put this on another line so you can see it. All right, and then let's just go ahead and copy this. Let's copy it like this. Control C, Control V. This is going to be assist. And then we'll do another one down here for deaths. Control V. Sweet. And then it's going to get whatever we did in that match. We're going to add it to the tote deaths in this case. And then we'll save that off the data store. So we have an accumulated numbers. Now we're going to have to call this saved save player data, Control C. Where should we call it? Let's call it when the player is being removed from the game. So we'll do game players from the player service, and then we have a player removing. We used to not be able to test this in Roblox Studio because it would shut down too quick, but we can now. I haven't noticed it shutting down abruptly anymore. It looks like they changed that. So this is just like the player added event, but it's when the player leaves the game. In the test server, if you shut down the test server, this doesn't get called, but if you do the leave from the button, it does. In Roblox, if you shut down the server, it still gets called. The player removing still gets called. All right, just so that you know that. And I'm going to put my save player data right there. So when they leave the game, this is going to get called. It's going to save things off. Sweet. All right, I think I'm going to try it out on my test server because I have some data. Well, we haven't been saving data off, right? So I want to be able to save some data. Let's go ahead and we'll do 2 players. We don't need to do assists, right? Let's go ahead and pause video while that's starting up. It's going to take like 2 minutes. All right, so we got our player 1, player 2. Let's pull over the server, and the save data is nil and nil because we weren't saving data before. Let's go ahead and shoot one of these guys. I'll move this over here, and then we'll bring it back. Pull this out, get a kill. All right, so we got a kill for player 1. We got a death for player 2. If we leave the game, remember you have to leave it like this for the test server. So leave the game. Let's take a look at our server data. We got data. Let's open it. Got 100 points. That's about right? Because he's worth 100 points and he didn't have time to heal. And we have tote kills as 1. And our player 1 does not have tote deaths. So if I leave for player 2, don't hit the cleanup or it won't call. Leave game. Leave. Pull the server back. He should have a death, right? So no points and total deaths equal 1. There you go. Now we have data being stored. We should be able to start again and see that data. So now I'm going to do the cleanup. I'm going to hit the start again and let's see if the data persists. So now that my game is starting up, this is the server. This is client 1, and then over here is client 2. That's all right. Let's take a look at client 1. Let's open it. Oh, look at that. 100 points. And then tote kills is 1. If we looked at the saved data for our other guy, oh, that's pretty good. So we have a data store. Let's go ahead and move that to our game now, right? It's going to be pretty easy. I'm just going to close this stuff down, leave, straight, and we'll bring up our other game. I'll pause the video while I'm doing that. All right, so our final step is to add our data store to our purge battle. All right, so I'm going to go, this is the lobby itself. Here's my map right here, but in the lobby, I'm not using the data store in the lobby, but I can turn it on there. So I hit that little cog. I'm going to go to security, enable studio access to API services, hit save. Now, when I go down to my purge map, right, here's our purge map. Pretty simple. If we go to the cog, security, just double check, make sure that that's on. It is, no problem. We don't have to change anything. And now we're going to change our battle manager for our data store, and we got to change the pistol for the damage. So let's do battle manager first. I'm going to go to server script service. This is in my map. Open the battle manager, and we have this small add player data. I'll put a link in the description to Payspin. I'll put it in for data store for purge. The game manager and the battle manager and purge. Right? We're going to need these 2 lines of code. I'm going to try and be tricky. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get the add player data. We called it the same. The init player data. The save player data. I can't do this because it's going to mess things up. So I'll do a copy. Go over to my purge map, we want to keep our teleport service. Let's remove add player data, right? So I'm going to hit the delete, and then I'll do a control V. That's pretty good, right? So we got our new add player data. Let me shrink that. We got our DSS and our DS, our data store and our data store service. Init player data, save player data. I'm shrinking these so I have more room. The game loop, close that. And then add player data. Oh, remember we need to add one line of code underneath the character added. Right, so I'll do it there. I hate the way that opens up like that. Let's shrink it again. There we go. We're going to add that. Go over here. That init player data. Ooh, we could be tricky. We could do this. Yeah, because we need the player removing too, right? Copy. This is the trickiest part. See if that's good. Control V. Oh, looking good. Looking good. All right, so there's our init. There's our save. Now we just need the damage script from the pistol. I have it open, but I'm going to show you where I have it. Starter pack, pistol, damage. Remember, we had to do the score damage. And we could just copy this whole thing. All right, so we'll go back to paste bin. And then in paste bin, data store for purge, damage. And I put a little note here. Make sure that the simple pistol, or make sure that you have a points metric on your leader stats. Oh, you know what? We didn't use the leader stats though. We used player data, but if you're following along, you should be fine. Right? Do we have player stats in here? Just make sure it's consistent. Yeah, we did player data. I should change that note. But I think we're good. Let's just copy it all. I'm going to do raw. Oh, look, I can do copy. Copy raw to clipboard. Sweet. And then here's our damage. Control A to select it all, right? I just deleted everything. Control V. That should work. Now we could try this. Let's go ahead and try it in the player though. Make sure you save everything. I'm going to publish the Roblox on both the map and the lobby, because you know how it could be kind of goofy. Sometimes things don't update right. Let's go to Roblox and try it out in our game. We're only going to be able to see the printouts in the console. And if you hit F9, right, you have that server and you have client console. All right, I'm at my Purge Battle 1. I'll put this link in the description too. And then I'll hit the play. And then I'm going to pause the video while it's starting up because it takes a little bit of time. All right, so I'm in the game. Somebody else jumped in. Usually Thunder jumps in. What does the button do? Yeah, I'll say press it. I'm a boomer. I'll leave this guy behind. I can't do... Oh, there we go. And I'm in the game. We're going to shoot each other. And then I'm going to check my data store in Roblox Studio to see if it shows up. Here we go. Prepare to jump. Oh, he's shooting me. Is this stuff not working? Oh, there he goes. So he got a kill. Let's go ahead and kill this guy. Where is he at? Oh, he's way over there. I got a kill too. So this should save off. All right, so I'm back in Roblox Studio. I'm going to check the data for the data store. Also, you'll notice in the game, we had prepare to jump. Our battle loop isn't running. The battle loop isn't running because we squashed some of our code. Let's go to the battle manager. And the battle manager in server script servers battle manager. When we copied in this stuff here, right here, we got rid of our game loop, right? We need a game loop down here. Here, I'll move this up. Game loop, and then we have what? Start time. We have battle time, and then we had reward time. So now it should work, but we won't be able to teleport Roblox Studio. So let's go ahead and do a play from here. I'm not going to play in the plane. I'm just going to hit the play from here. And then I'm going to go, ooh, we got to kill our zombie so we don't die. Oh, we also got to turn off that plane sound starting real quick and then turning off when we're far away. Not that that'll be an issue because you're going to be starting in the plane. All right, the battle manager seems to be working. Let's go to view, output window. Saved data. Sweet. So I got 427 points here. Total deaths. I think you saw him kill me once, but he kept killing me after that. And then I turned the video off because I demoed enough. And then I got that one kill where I ran across the land and then got him. So that's pretty cool. We got saved data. We could start working on our Hall of Fame in the lobby because we can get this data in the lobby too. When that time remaining goes, the reward will kick in and then we'll get teleported back, but it'll fail in Roblox Studio. All right, so I will see you in the next video. We'll do like a little UI at the end of the match and then rank the players based on kills, assists, and deaths.